Here's what's coming up on today's show.
Very simply put, we help families find the right senior care community for their elderly loved ones, and that could be at any level, whether it's assisted living, long-term care, memory care, or all of the above in a continuing care retirement community.
Welcome to Kansas City Connections, a local business podcast geared towards spotlighting Kansas City's best and brightest entrepreneurs. Your host is fellow small business owner Steve Hoover, the president of Wealth Partners Corporation. Now let's get to Steve and today's guest.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kansas City Connections, a local business podcast show. I'm your host, Steve Hoover, and I'm the president and the owner of Wealth Partners Corporation. I want to welcome my guest today, Steve Kuker of Senior Care Solutions, our Senior Care Consulting, excuse me.
There we go.
There we go. I don't have my reading glasses on, so I'm having a little time. I'm going to have to squint down on my notes. But anyway, Steve, appreciate you joining me today.
You bet. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, great. Hey, we were visiting before we got on before we started recording, and you have a radio show on KMBZ. Can you tell me a little bit about the show, when it is? Then also kind of tell me a little bit about who Senior Care Consulting is.
Sure, you bet. So Senior Care Live is on every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. on Talk 980 a.m., which is one of the AM side of KMBZ here in Kansas City, the Intercom Broadcasting Corporation here in Kansas City. And Senior Care Live is the mission of that program is to provide information, education, and resources for seniors and their caregivers. So there's a very broad range of topics that we cover on the program. It's a full hour. I have a lot of expert guests on the program, and it reaches thousands and thousands of people every single week. And we just celebrated the 7th anniversary of the program.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. Now, in terms of what Senior Care Consulting does, kind of give me an idea of exactly how you operate and kind of what makes you different from some of the other companies that I hear on the radio advertise, like Here for Mom or something like that.
Right. So Senior Care Consulting is a unique service. I started this company in 2002. So I've been doing this for a long time. And very simply put, we help families find the right senior care community for their elderly loved ones. And that could be at any level, whether it's assisted living, long-term care, memory care, or all of the above in a continuing care retirement community. Our business model is a flat fee for service. It's a very transparent model. We work directly for the families we serve. We work in their best interest. We represent them. And it's very similar to if you work with an attorney or a tax accountant or any other professional service provider that helps you through a process, and there's a fee for service attached to that. This is the process that we help our clients through. Now, if you compare and contrast that to some of these free referral services, on the surface, they look similar. We'll help you find a place for your elderly loved one, et cetera, and we're free. So that is a tough one for me because free is a very powerful word, but didn't your parents always tell you nothing's for free? So if it's free to you, well, who are they getting paid for? So the obvious answer is they're getting paid by the places they recommend. There's zero objectivity. It's and I could talk about that forever, but the bottom line is the free referral services run around town and they try to cut agreements with some of these places, and they say we will bring you lots of leads, and if they choose you, you will pay us. Check this out. 50% of the first month's cost, 100% of the first month's cost, up to 150% of the first month's cost. So if it's a $7,000 assisted living apartment or long-term care community, they're going to be writing a check for that free referral of $3,500 to over $10,000. I won't have anything to do with that. That's a gross conflict of interest. I work directly for the clients that we serve, and I think it's the right thing to do, and it's the right business model.
Now, since you're not getting the if you will, the leads, how are you, other than your radio show, do you work with estate planning attorneys, CPAs, word of mouth? How exactly are people getting to you?
All of the above. So we have a lot of elder law attorneys and estate planning attorneys are very familiar with senior care consulting. They're very comfortable. They love the approach, the flat fee for service, and they love the business model. So we receive a lot of referrals from the legal community, financial planners, insurance professionals, CPAs, also case managers, physicians, hospital discharge folks. So we are found online through Google searches and, of course, through radio advertisements and the radio program. So really all of the above.
One of the things that I've been talking with my clients range in a variety of ages, typically the 50 plus to 65, 70. And one of the areas that we always talk about and try to plan for is the event of a stay in a facility. We know the numbers are there. Now, do all of my clients end up at facility? Not all of them. However, if they do, it is quite costly. Do you see the rise in these costs continuing to go up like they have? Because they seem to be kind of going up exponentially the last number of years. Do you all kind of see that continuing?
Yes, no doubt about it. The average cost increase per year is 3% to 5% per year, but there is an interesting situation happening at least in the Kansas City marketplace. I'm sure it's happening other places as well. So you have a lot of this is in the assisted living level of care. So that middle level, that mid-range. And what's happening is there is now an explosion of new assisted living communities, and these places are very nice, and some of them are high end. And so what they're doing is they're coming in at a much higher price point. And so, say if these places are, $7,000 or $8,000 a month and they're getting that, then someone who's been in business and they have a 20-year-old building and it's a great place and it looks very nice. If they were at that $5,000 mark, what they're doing is they're saying, well, wait a minute, we could go up to $6,000, still be under the $7,000 shiny penny new places and still get the same number of referrals. So you would think, and guess what? A lot of these places, they're not full. So this goes against, Econ 101.
Right.
So the demand is always there. And of course it's increasing, but we have too much capacity. That should drive the prices down. But frankly, it's going the other way just because the new places are coming in so high and they're getting it that the other places are following suit and raising their monthly rates, making more money doing nothing other than thank you, new shiny penny place down the street for helping me make an extra $500,000 a month doing the same thing. So that's what's happening. So you're seeing that exponential increase in the assisted living segment versus long-term care.
Are you seeing most people having to private pay? In other words, a lot of the people that you're assisting do or don't have a long-term care insurance or some type of vehicle to help offset some of those costs?
My numbers are about the same as the national numbers. 5, 6, 7% may have long-term care insurance. It may be enough to cover, it may not. But the vast majority of my clients do not have long-term care insurance. Now, we always ask about your service, or if your spouse served in the military or you served in the military. We also look at qualification for the VA aid and attendance benefit, which is a great benefit that most people aren't even aware of.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's not applicable, if you don't have long-term care insurance, then the other options are you're paying privately. And if you are in a spend-down situation, then you may qualify for Medicaid at some point to help you offset those costs.
When you're working with your clients or people come to you and they don't have long-term care insurance and they have a modest savings that they work very hard over their lifetime to save, do you find these people uncomfortable or nervous about just totally running out of their savings?
Oh, there's no doubt about that. When you start talking about, the average cost of assisted living at, $6,000, plus or minus $1,000, long-term care, which is also known as a nursing home, your semi-private rate is going to be around $7,500 a month for a shared room. And for a private room in long-term care, you're looking at about $8,500 to about $14,000 a month. So people are very nervous about that and very concerned. And so that's why, many times, when I'm working with the client, we're developing our care profile, the financial section of that care profile, we're going to camp out there for a while and talk about that. And what does happen if you outlive your assets? And the obvious answer is Medicaid, but how do you qualify? What does it cover? May not cover what you need. So it gets very confusing, very complicated, and these folks are pretty nervous about this, no doubt about it.
It is. And one of the issues when I talk to people, and you probably know this as well, a lot of companies have stopped offering the traditional long-term care insurance. There are still some out there, but what I have found in research and looking at it for some clients, the cost is prohibitive for most people. They kind of get, I just don't want to pay for something else. I'm already paying for car insurance, homeowners insurance, renters, what have you. Paying another premium on something I may not use, even though we know the numbers are there, they just don't want to do it. And some of these long-term care companies have just stopped. The large ones, John Hancock, Allianz, all the companies have stopped. So as an advisor, I'm having to look at different ways to try to find ways that we can help offset part of that risk. We can't offset all of it, but we're looking at for ways. What do you find a lot of people doing, or are they just going, I just got to start liquidating what I have?
They're liquidating what they have, and on the long-term care, a lot of the newer policies are bundled with a life insurance benefit, so that to take care of that. Well, what if I pay for this and I don't use it? Well, first of all, 70% of us will use long-term care in our lifetime, so you just won the lottery.
Right.
Right. So, but if you don't have to use it with some of the newer policies, then, when you pass away, at least there's a life insurance benefit from that. So you're not throwing your money away. But you have to look at your income. You have to look at your assets and the entire financial picture. Many times we will work together with a financial advisor to, put together a plan that will cover the cost.
Yeah, I've been using the term as asset-backed long-term care, and it's really kind of what you addressed, which was basically a life insurance policy. These insurance companies can't underwrite, somebody coming down with Alzheimer's or some type of dementia 5 or 6 years in the future, or having a stroke. And that's happened to about 3 of my clients that we actually got written on a traditional long-term care insurance policy. And then 3 or 4 years later, they all ended up having to use the benefit. But when they were underwritten, they were, preferred plus people. So what I found, the insurance company are saying, look, we know we're all going to die. So let's couple these life insurance policies with a accelerated death benefit rider, really is what it is.
Okay.
If you accomplish you can't do 2 of 6 activities of daily living. So that's really been something that has helped people. And I'm sure that's what you're talking to your potential clients about. But it is out there, so it's not just we're done. It is available, so that's wonderful. Hey, let me ask you this. Let me go back to the point, because I've seen it too. It seems to me that there are an awful lot of these senior care facilities going up. Not so much memory care, but it looks like more of assisted living, or kind of like a tall grass or someplace like that, where they'll merge you through, or just a facility that you go in for assisted living, and then if you need to move to a different spot, if you come down with Alzheimer's or something else, they seem to be just going everywhere. And one of the concerns I have is that particular, and you're saying they're not full. My concern is there's ultimately going to be decrease in the number of those people coming in, and it seems like they're overbuilding that area. Do you find that true?
Well, I think we're overbuilding right now in the assisted living category. And I would say also we're starting to see some independent living overbuilding. What they're doing is they're saying, we know the future numbers and we're building right now, and then we know we will fill these, and they have a business model to fill them over the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. But it's going to take a while. You mentioned a tall grass, so that's an example of a continuing care retirement community. Those are actually getting very popular. So the concept there is to sell your home and downsize and then move into an apartment, or you could have a freestanding villa or a duplex. Most of the capacity here in the Kansas City area would be a nice apartment. And then, you don't have to worry about home ownership and leaves in the gutter and flooded basements and all of that sort of thing. It's maintenance free. They'll prepare a meal or two for you per day. You have some transportation available. You have social opportunities, but you're still fully independent. You're on your own, but you're not alone. You're around other people. And then the concept there is then you can age in place and never have to change your address again. That's very appealing for a lot of people. And then should you begin to decline, need some help with your activities of daily living, then you very easily transition to the assisted living part of their community. And then should you develop issues that would require more medical care, heavier care, then you can transition to the long-term care part of the community. And again, never have to leave. And that's part of the appeal, that safety and that comfort saying, I know that when I move here, they've got me. I'm good to go. I don't have to move again. It's a one and done. And that model is very, very popular right now, and lots of people are moving in to continuing care retirement communities. And with senior care consulting, that's the most difficult one to find the right fit, because you are looking at variables and options of 3 different levels of care all in one place. And so that's probably the toughest one for the average consumer to navigate. And we're working more and more with individuals and couples wanting to sell their home, downsize, and move into a CCRC. And we can help them make sense of all that and find the right one and the best fit for them in their unique circumstances.
Well, that would be incredibly helpful to people, because I know it's very confusing. It's a very emotional time frame when they're trying to look for that. And sometimes do you find people are making that decision when it's kind of it's got to be happening now? So there's not a whole lot of planning. I may be wrong. A whole lot of planning. Do you see it tend to be a little bit more, we got to get mom or dad into a facility, or mom and dad into a facility, and we've got, 3 or 4 weeks to get it done. And there's a lot of emotion because, mom and dad really don't want to move into a facility. They really want to stay home. And I think you kind of got into this because of your grandparents, I believe it was.
Correct. Yeah.
And, the emotional part of it. I remember when we had to do my grandmother, very emotional. I mean, you're uprooting from somebody from someplace that they're comfortable with and moving them stressed. So I would assume that it's very stressful for people.
It is very stressful. I like to say that we help make this very difficult process simple. Now, it's not easy. It's never, ever easy, but we can make this very simple and help our clients through this process in 4 or 5 hours, and they're finished. The average person's, if they're trying to do their homework and get it right, they're spending 50 to 100 hours searching and visiting all these places and hearing all these different sales pitches, some of them conflicting, and then they're actually further away from making a decision than they were at the beginning. So with senior care consulting, we cut through all of that. We represent them. We walk them right through this. And they're spending 4 or 5 hours and they're getting it done. And it's an incredible time saver for our client. And then the other thing that, given the pandemic that we're in right now, you can't go in and see these places. So what are you supposed to do? So what that has done is it's really shined a very bright light on how valuable the information from senior care consulting is, because as part of our service, along with a geriatric care assessment, market research, identifying our top providers, then we also conduct a 97-point inspection and performance audit at each place. So we ask very objective questions. Some of them are very tough questions, but they're fair. We calculate exact staffing ratios. We report to our clients what the state found in the most recent surprise health inspection. And all of this is put together in a summary report, and we turn that around very quickly and get it in the hands of our clients so that they have a wealth of objective, verified, data-driven information to help them make a decision. And that's even more important today since you can't go in the place. I mean, I'm scheduling virtual tours and all of that, like, the entire world is on Zoom, I think, but, and we're doing the best that we can do, but that information is now more important than ever before. And to answer your question earlier, yes, some people call and we have a crisis type of a situation. Something happened, it was unexpected, and we're going to have to bend over backwards. We're going to have to move very quickly. So we work with lots of individuals and families in that situation. But, I've been shouting from the rooftops for the last 7 years on my radio program and every single presentation that I've ever made, and we're talking hundreds, about, don't wait till the last second. You have to be proactive. If you think it's time to move, you're probably a little late. So I'd rather move sooner and get it right and get into the place that I have chosen and I've participated in that selection process than wait too late and we have to take the first place with an available bed. That's not a good situation to be in. Do we help people like that? Absolutely. But we're seeing more and more people hearing that message, calling, making an appointment, and being proactive, and they're out ahead of it. And that's an ideal situation because a lot of places have waiting lists. And these waiting lists could be 3 to 6 months, some 12 months, some legitimate 24-month waiting lists of really good places. And so if you can, I guess the message is be proactive. Let's do our homework. Let's get your name on some wait lists. And then you can move in the future when you want to. And more and more people are hearing that message and acting on it.
Well, that's a great message, and I try to preach that as well to my clients, saying, look, it may not happen, but if it does, let's at least have a plan in place. And your company is a perfect one to do that because it's very confusing of all this. So having somebody like you all in your company helping people through this process that can trust and know that it's good quality advice is really helpful, because I've heard horror stories of people saying, well, this is, mom, we had to move mom 3 times. Because they put on their good face show when you come in, and then it ends up not being that way. So,
and one thing they get with me is I have over 30 years of experience in senior care. I have been an administrator of nursing homes, assisted living facilities. So I know what I'm looking for. You can't pull the wool over old Steve's eyes here. So the information that I provide is accurate. It is reliable. People count on that. People are making decisions. With senior care consulting, they're getting this. This is a one and done. We're finding the right place and the best fit the first time in 4 or 5 hours of their time for a reasonable flat fee for service. It's a fantastic service. I'm so proud of what I do. And we're coming up on our 18th anniversary at Senior Care Consulting.
That's outstanding. Steve, this has been a great conversation. I know people are going to get a lot of good value out of this. Give us your contact information. I will place it on the bottom on the website as well for you. So go ahead and just give me your contact information.
You bet. So the phone number for Senior Care Consulting is 913-945-2800. And the website is just very straightforward, all one word, Senior Care Consulting with an ING, seniorcareconsulting.com. And then for the radio program, it's 1-800-331-6445, online at seniorcarelive.com.
And what day is your radio show on?
Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. on Talk 980. You can also stream that through seniorcarelive.com. Just click on the Listen Live button. You could also download the radio.com app and listen to it and stream that from that app to your mobile device.
Outstanding. Steve, I really appreciate your time. And hopefully we'll get through this pandemic. We can start getting people in and letting them see their hopefully new home in person. So again, I appreciate you taking your time today.
You bet. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
My pleasure. You've been listening to Kansas City Connections, the local business podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hoover. I appreciate you tuning in today. And until next time, cheers.
Thanks for listening to Kansas City Connections, a local business podcast brought to you by Wealth Partners Corporation based in Overland Park. Need help planning for retirement? Call Steve Hoover at 913-685-3207. That's 913-685-3207 or online at wealthpartnerskc.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcasting app so you never miss an episode. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google, and pretty much everywhere else you can listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next edition of Kansas City Connections, a local business podcast.
Any financial information provided is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.